Hello, today we're going to talk about FERPA. For our video, we're going to review the definition of FERPA, the historical and current perspectives, their strengths, their weakness, and how FERPA affects in school, impact on teaching, and in student learning. So let's start with FERPA. What is FERPA? FERPA is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. It's a federal law that protects the privacy of students' education records. The main purposes of FERPA are to ensure the confidentiality of students' records and limit access to those records, to give students the right to access and review their own education records, to provide a process for a student to request the amendment of inaccurate or misleading information in the records, to require schools to obtain written consent from students before disclosing their personal identifying information to third parties with some expectation. Now, where it comes, FERPA? Well, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, also commonly referred to as the Buckley Amendment after its principal sponsor, the Senator James Buckley, was signed into law by President Ford on August 21st of the year of 1974. During all years, have a different modifications, amendments. In 1974, just following the enactment of FERPA, higher education officials becomes alarmed by the act's possible implications for college and universities. In 1979, Congress clarified that FERPA does not prohibit states and local education officials from having access to student or other records that might be necessary in connections with the audit or the evaluation of any federal or state supported education program. In the 90s, amendments allowed post-secondary institutions to disclose to the legal victim of a violent crime the result of any disciplinary proceeding conducted by the institute against the alleged perpetrator of the crime, regardless of the outcome of the proceeding. In 1992, law enforcement records, such as policy crime logs, are not protected from disclosure by FERPA. In 94, amendments enacted as a part of the Improving American School Act extended the right to inspect and review education records maintained by the state educational agency that are not otherwise subject to FERPA. In the 2000, they have a different amendments. In 2002, the Congress made technical corrections to the text of the statute. In 2013, the Act amended the section to FERPA General Consent Rule that allowed school to disclose personally identified information from students' educational records without consent if that disclosure is necessary to comply with a judicial order or lawfully used subpoena. So during the years, we have a different amendments that improve all this. In our current perspectives, in this decade since its enactment, FERPA has become a cornerstone of student privacy law in the United States. As technology has advanced, FERPA has had to evolve to address new challenges and threats to student privacy, such as the growth of online learning and the increased collection usage of the student data. The strengths are the student privacy protection, the parent and student access rights, and the consent requirements. The weakness is that they have an unclear definitions. They have an exceptions to consent, and they have an outdated for digital era. So they need to work on that. FERPA affects in the school that develop and implement comprehensive policies and procedures. Even the school must train faculty and staff on FERPA. And FERPA impact in teaching because can limit teachers' flexibility in communication with parents about the student academic progress and behavioral uses as they must obtain consent before closing certain information. Teachers must be careful about the type of student work assessment or other material that they display or share publicly to avoid inadvertent formative evaluations. In student learning, the students are very sure that they have it been protected by this law, that all their information, assessments, that all the records being protected. Thank you for watching my video.